production systems. My name is Lydia Kimani. I'm the Executive Director, Agribusiness for African Markets, and part of the Leadership Academy of the GI. So we are delighted to be hosting all of you and to take you on the journey that we are on with regards to organic input. So I want to appreciate these are involved government agencies. We also have a farmer, and we also have private sector entities that are engaging in the organic input. We basically just want to understand what are some of the things that have been impacting negatively on scaling up the use of organic inputs in the country, and how can we catalyze this process going forward, whether it is incentives, policy direction, or now giving momentum to the already established policy processes. So with that, I'd like to just request a volunteer to pray for us, even as we start. If we do not have a volunteer, I will take the prerogative of appointing someone so that we can be underway. So please feel free to unmute and lead us in prayer so that we can start. I can see a hand. Maurice Frederick, please proceed and pray so that we can start.
All right, Lydia. Thank you. Let me pray so that we can start the conversation. Father, we say thank you for this afternoon. Lord, even as we gather in this webinar on Zoom, Lord, I pray that King of Glory, you may give us understanding, my Father, and let this meeting not be in vain, but Lord, let it be that Jehovah, the world you gave to us, the soil you gave to us, and the food you gave to us, my Father, may be a benefit to us. Let the knowledge in this place, my Father, with the different stakeholders that are on board, my Father, bring change to us as men and also to the soils and to the food we eat for the honor of the glory of your holy name. Be with us even as we start till the end. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. And thank you very much, Maurice. We really appreciate that for setting us on course. So without much ado, we are going to dive straight into our webinar. I'd like to request if we can have, thank you very much. The program is already projected. We are having a welcome and introduction session that is ongoing. So if you have just joined us, we are requesting that please share your contact information, introduce yourself in the chat function, name, organization, and contact information. We will be very delighted to have that. So very quickly, I want us to run through the program. And today we have a webinar in the organic input. And you're basically looking at how do we unlock the potential of the agroecology revolution in the country by engaging the private sector to strengthen the organic input value chain. So we have already gone through the welcome and introduction. We will have a session where we do climate setting so that we understand the correct in the conversation is also going to be win by the AgSys to know who my apologies. apologies for that interruption. Then once we are done with the panel session, we'll indulge in a session of Q&A, then move to recommendations and a call for action as we wrap up our webinar. So as we do the climate setting, I just want to give a very step to have a policy, to give policy direction in terms of how we advance with regard to agroecology, clearly stating the different roles and functions of the stakeholders that are going to support this particular transition. It is against this backdrop that the recommendation to even host the agroecology conference in the country, even as Kenya shared her experience in terms of taking the journey to establish the policy process. So this is also becoming a pace setter and a trailblazer in the continent of Africa. So this, by extension, is going to also inform how a lot of countries proceed. That aside, we are also looking at enhanced momentum. We have recently just submitted our second NDC to the FCCC, and we have a raised ambition of 35%. As countries continue to submit their nationally determined contribution, there is an encouragement to see enhanced ambition. And therefore, pursuing agroecological practices in the country is going to be very critical in enhancing our resilience and also our abatement of the greenhouse gas emissions as a sector, even as we pursue food production. Then also finally, just this week, today we have the last day of the ongoing EU Kenya Business Forum. So this is part of the enhancing implementation of the recently signed Economic Partnership Agreement between Kenya and the EU. And one of the things that we need to take cognizance of is that the EU is a leading trading partner for Kenya, and we now recently are aware of the policy direction on with regard to the Green Deal that is emphasizing the need to move towards safer inputs. So as we have this conversation today, we are basically looking at the country and the preparedness and the readiness, even in terms of the shifting that we are making, even with our bilateral partners. So it is against this backdrop that we are going to have this conversation, that we need to support production in the country. We need to support our transition to a low carbon development pathway. We also need to support the continued market access, especially for the exporters. So without much ado, we are going to transition to hearing about the Leadership Academy from Lily Chepkemoi. So Lily, please proceed to introduce the Leadership Academy.
Thank you, Lydia. My name is Lily Chepkemoi from the Ministry of Agriculture. And before I talk about the AgSys Leadership Academy, I just want to give an introduction on the...
Hello, we can't hear you. Or I can't hear you myself.
Okay. Lydia, you can hear me?
Lily, I can hear you. Yes, very clearly. Maybe, Eugene, you may need to rejoin the meeting. Thank you. Lily, please.
Okay, so before I give a brief introduction on the AgSys Leadership Academy, I just want to introduce the program that is supporting us in this Leadership Academy, which is the GIZ Sustainable Agricultural Systems and Policies Program. It is normally known as the AgSys program. And this program is a global program which is being funded by the German Federation Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development. And it is being implemented by GIZ in partnership with the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development. And the AgSys program supports 9 cooperating countries in transforming the agricultural and food systems. This is through various interventions which are related to transformation, as well as the policies and their implementation, and also the innovation scaling, as well as institutions which are related to innovation scaling, as well as the agencies and empowerment. There is also the sustainable agri-sector financing, as well as the global level exchanges and learning. And this is where the Leadership Academy is coming in. So the Academy is being supported by the global program, and it is mainly to develop the skills of these participants in the 9 countries, which are leading in the agri-food systems transformation. And it is mainly to empower the participants as well as to equip them with the knowledge on how to navigate the complex systems in these agri-food systems. The program is known as the AgSys Leadership Academy for Agri-Food Systems, and it is supporting 4 participants from Kenya and other 9 countries. And from Kenya, we have Lydia Kimani, who is our moderator for today, and is from Agribusiness for African Market. She's representing the private sector. We have Milka Wahu. She's from Amka Africa Justice Initiative. She's representing the civil society. And myself here, Adili Chepkemoi, I'm from the Ministry of Agriculture. I'm representing the government. And we have Jeffrey Ngari, who is representing the development partner. He's from GIZ. So, and in this program, we're supposed to ensure that as we learn the theory part, we also practically experiment what we are doing. So, and this is where the transformative action is coming in. And our transformative action, we decided to go for the organic inputs to address the issues of misinformation as well as disinformation, so as to, which is really becoming a potential hindrance to transformation in agri-food systems. And that is why we are here today to have our this webinar, so that we discuss the issues in the organic inputs, the issues of disinformation as well as misinformation in the organic inputs. Thank you, Lydia. Back to you, Lydia.
Thank you, Lily. Thank you very much, Lily, for bringing us up to speed on who the AgSys, on the AgSys project and the AgSys Leadership Academy. So now we are going to transition very quickly to our conversation today. And like Lily has finished off by saying that the focus of the transformation action by the Leadership Academy is basically to address misinformation, disinformation, misconceptions, even in the context of organic inputs. I am sure you have heard things like we only need to use, for instance, only organic inputs. You have also heard that there is no validated evidence, for instance, to demonstrate increase in yield. Some of these are some of the things that we have had out there, and we want to, and you realize that if there is this kind of information going around, then it is going to affect demand for the organic inputs. Consequently, this is going to affect the private sector, who have been very diligent in developing alternatives or products that can now come into this space. An interesting development is that we are members of the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, and one of the leading commodities of trade is bio-inputs, that is biofertilizers and biopesticides. So there is a very huge opportunity. However, if there is misinformation of this kind, the disinformation and even the misconceptions at a national level, this is likely to compromise our ability to even develop supply chains that deliver products at the right to the customers in a cost-effective way. So going forward, we are just going to look at some of the things and the developments that have happened in the country that are leaning towards private sector engagement in this particular process. So to start us off, I want to invite Mr. Samuel Mushiri from the fertilizer unit. So he's going to share on what the fertilizer unit does, and also give us a background on the fertilizer subsidy, and even give us explore with us the possibilities of having the fertilizer subsidy incorporate the organic inputs, for instance, the organic fertilizer. So this is critical because when you look at the context of a developing country, the government is usually the heaviest consumer. So if there is that policy direction, we're also seeing that an opportunity where the government is leading in terms of demand. If we have a quota, for instance, assigned to the fertilizer subsidy for organic products, then that will be one of the ways in which we can start making inroads to have products that are reaching our farmers in a timely manner and in a cost-effective way. So, Mr. Samuel Mushiri, I want to invite you now and just share with us what the government is doing on the fertilizer front, and what are some of the opportunities that the actors and the stakeholders in the organic input sector for the private sector and even different actors can look at in terms of opportunities going forward. So over to you, Mr. Samuel. Karibu sana.
Okay, thank you, Lydia. Good afternoon. Are you hearing me?
Good afternoon. Clear.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. My name is Simon Moshigere. I'm based here at the Ministry Headquarters in the State Department for Agriculture. And I'm actually in a directorate that deals with issues of agribusiness and market development, and specifically issues of farm inputs. From what you have actually just indicated, it is like specifically, I'm supposed to be talking about the issues of subsidy. And initially I thought I was maybe to give a general perspective, but I think basically I'll be able to shed some light in terms of what we are doing as a ministry. I hope I can be heard. I think for a start, I just want to do a general. You can hear me?
Yes, very clearly. You may proceed.
Okay, thank you. I first of all wanted to give just a general, maybe what I can call a general perspective by starting from what all of us know. And when I talk about what all of us know is that if you look at our governance structure, the way we are structured, we have the national government and we have the county governments. And we have specific functions which are delineated as per our Constitution 2010. And that is important. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I can see these big words in misinformation, misconceptions. And I want to say that for the national government specifically, what we normally deal with is actually policy. We also do strategies and issues of capacity building, because that is important. And before probably I talk about the subsidy program, I wanted to start by saying that last year we had the African Fertilizer and Soil Health Summit, and we had some declarations here in Nairobi. And I believe this information, you could already be having it. But of importance is that one of the commitments was that we are supposed to triple production of inorganic and organic fertilizers. Maybe that is important from there. The other thing is that in line with the requirements of the national government, when you are talking about policies, we've already come up with a policy, and we also have a strategy. I believe most of us could be familiar with the agricultural soil management policy, which we launched last year in May during the African Fertilizer and Soil Health Summit. And in that policy, if you are to look at it, we have actually issues to do with organic agriculture. And we also have a chapter that is wholly dedicated on fertilizer development. And when we are talking about fertilizer development, we are talking about both inorganic and organic fertilizer. And when you look at the policy, which is normally general and it gives intent, you'll find that we have been able to tease out the challenges that are related to organic fertilizer. And from the policy perspective, we have been able to come up with the responsibilities at both levels, the national government and the county governments. And of importance also is to know that the way we are required to do policies is there has to be stakeholder participation. So when we are coming up with these policies, we came up together with even the stakeholders, and we went through a process before which I may not explain at this point because of the time. But I want to say that we have also gone ahead and facilitated the registration of the Organic Farm Inputs Manufacturers Association of Kenya, because that is important. As we are working with Fertilizer Association of Kenya, which OFIMAC is also a member, we are also working with OFIMAC. And that is important because what is happening is that we are actually dealing with about 3 key issues when it comes to issues of fertilizer. And in Kenya, number 1, we are talking about balanced nutrition, whereby beyond what we know, the 3 main elements, when we are talking about crop production, we have come to discover, or we have realized that you actually require what I can call the micronutrients. And these micronutrients, in this case, can only come in the form of fertilizer blending. And that is something that we have been discussing with the industry. The other key issue is actually the issues of soil acidity, which cannot actually be addressed only unless we start incorporating good agricultural practices. And the other one is matters of organic carbon. So these are key, what I can call pertinent issues. But of importance is that from around 1992 there, I would say that the farm input sector, it may have been liberalized before, but basically the farm input sector was actually liberalized. So we are saying it is actually in the hands of the private sector, and that is important. So because the government does not invest in that, ours is mainly to support in terms of creating an enabling environment so that the private sector can be able to bring in investments, they can be able to manufacture, they can be able to blend, they can actually be able to do everything that we require in terms of coming up with the products so that these products can actually be used when we are talking about, in this case, agricultural production, and mainly focusing on agricultural production and productivity. And that is important. Now, when we come to this particular sector, as I've indicated, for us, it is important because number 1, we are talking about what I've just mentioned, organic agriculture. And for us to attain that, because there is a lot of emphasis on the use of what I can call organic inputs. And this is something that is important. And it is one of what I can call the impact pathways when you look at our bottom-up economic transformation agenda, whereby we are talking about increased incomes for the farmers and job creation. So that is important. Now, that is just a general view that I would have liked to give, but I want to say that we are working closely with those people that are in the industry. And there is a lot that we are even doing currently. There is a team that is based in Cairo, which is also working with the private sector. And we are trying to come up with what I can call a policy brief. And this policy brief is to give the status and also be able to tell us how can we be able to advance so that if we are coming up with strategies, then it is easier for us to move together. Of course, we know the 2 products, when we are talking about the inorganic products, inorganic fertilizers and the organic fertilizers, each of them has a specific role. And for us as a government, our view, and that has been the view even before, is that these 2 products should be used together. And that is why even when we have had discussions, we have been able to move, not only, we have been able to embrace what we are calling, in this case, beyond the inorganics and organic, there is what we are now calling the organominerals. And we have products in the country whereby we have the 2 are actually being bred, because of course we know the benefits of each of them. Now, if specifically we were to come now talk about the subsidy program that we have been implementing, this program we started around 2008-09, and what has happened is along the way, we have actually been able to redesign, and again now we have gone back to the same. The issues that are there is number 1, it was actually our intention to bring in the organic fertilizers within the subsidy program. But I think one of the concerns that came in was actually the issue of quality. I believe maybe last year there was a lot of issues when people are talking about, is the product fake, is it substandard? But what was happening is that the product was substandard. And of course, the other challenge that was there is the value proposition. How was this particular product brought into the market? What was the declaration? Was it a soil amendment? Was it an organic fertilizer? So there are quite a number of issues that we are actually dealing with so that we can be able to ensure that we actually onboard the organic fertilizers into the subsidy program. And we are actually looking forward to that as we address those challenges that are there. But what we have actually done, because mainly the fertilizers, currently we are implementing the program within the National Cereals and Produce Board. What we have actually done is there is an agreement between the National Cereals and Produce Board and in this case, organic fertilizer, those people that are doing the soil amendments, the organic fertilizers, whereby they are actually using the National Cereals and Produce Board network in terms of depots, so that they can be able, at a consignment model, they are able to stock their products there, and then the farmers can be able to access. I think the only challenge that probably we are having is the issues of product stewardship, because mainly when you are talking about the private sector, you come up with a product, then in terms of information, in terms of marketing your product, then that has actually been the role of the private sector. I think that is the way the whole thing is designed. Because, for example, me as let's say an extension person or somebody within the government, I cannot take an individual product and then go and sell and actually market it. So that is important. So the issue of what I can call the stewardship, and that is very, very important. But in future, it is actually our intention to have the organic fertilizers in the subsidy program. The other challenge that we have been having, and this is important, as I had indicated, is that value proposition. Because number one, you'll find that even the companies that are doing it, the ones that are producing, there has been this okay, the way it is positioned is that it can replace the inorganics. And that has actually been a very big challenge. Because number one, we are dealing with farmers who are rational, farmers who are aware about the nutrient composition of given products. And sometimes it is not very easy when you get outside there to tell a farmer, if, for example, you have been using DAP, and when you have DAP, which is 1846.0, then you are telling a farmer that you can replace this with, for example, let's say a given product that has about 5% nitrogen, or 1.3 or 3% phosphorus. So that has actually been an issue. And the way these products have been, and that is what we are trying to work out with the industry, so that we put things straight, that what we are talking about is progressively as a farmer, because you're also doing soil analysis, based on your soils, then you'll get recommendations in terms of how can you be able to combine the two together. Instead of now coming in and saying, oh, you need to replace this inorganic fertilizer with this organic fertilizer. So these are areas that we are actually working on, because the moment we go that way, then you'll find that in terms of adoption, it becomes an issue. But basically, I want to say that we have the policies, we have the strategies that we have developed together, and we are actually supporting either through CARO efficacy trials. They are done with CARO, and then from there we have evidence, so that when in this case we are talking, we are actually talking from a point where we have information. And maybe also to comment, beyond what I can call the fertilizers, we know there is also the issues of pesticides. This historically, it's something that we have been trying to put emphasis on, because there are even other practices like the integrated pest management, where we normally say that if you're using chemicals, that should be a last resort. And there's a lot of information that we are giving, but of essence is actually to know what constitutes a product in terms of nutrients, in terms of what I can call guarantee. When we are talking about even the biopesticides, and that is important, and also efficacy. And I want to say that because I've been around for quite some time, I know there is one company that has been dealing with biopesticides for quite some time. And one of the challenges has been the environmental conditions, so that you might find in some places the products working, other places they are not working. But basically, it is something that we have been working together to see how best the private sector can be able to thrive. They can be able to sell their products, of course, within an enabling environment, and also ensuring that when we work together, then in terms of messaging, we take the messages that are appropriate, either at our level, at the national level, and also at the county level, because that is what is key. The way you press the value proposition of your product, and within what I can call some evidence, without, in this case, for example, misreading the public. Because the moment the farmers discover that the product is not working based on what had been promised, then that becomes actually an issue, and it becomes a problem. So I think basically, maybe for now, I want to stop there, because I could be having a lot of information, and I also don't want to drift from, in this case, the cause of the discourse that we are having. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Simon Mushingiri. That policy background gives us a very strong foundation on which we build on, and we thank you for bringing us up to speed, even for the historical background and the development of the use of fertilizer, and especially from a policy perspective. We appreciate that liberalization has been there for the last many years, close to 33 years, but then there's still very limited private sector uptake in terms of providing the inputs. So we appreciate that there is intention by government to include, but we also appreciate the very candid way you have presented the challenges, that the value proposition may not be very strong. The agroecological disparities also influence the uptake and the use, because some products will work in some areas and may not work in other areas. So to help us just transition, and we have also had that the private sector have an opportunity to use the NCPB depots. It is also very commendable that government has been in great support for the setup of IMAC. So we are going to now transition to hear a private sector perspective in terms of the development and the journey they have taken in the next 5 minutes from Mr. Samuel Rigo, CEO of Safi Organics. I have known Sam for at least the last 5 years, and it will be interesting to just hear what are some of the challenges he has also experienced in his journey with regard to misinformation on the product that he's taking to the farmers and the consumers, the end users of the product. So Sam, I want to just transition to you, even as you share the experience of Safi Organics. What has your journey been like? What are some of the experiences with regards to misinformation, the misconceptions of the product that you're bringing to the market? So without much ado, Sam, over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure again to be here and hear more so from Simon and what the government is doing, which I can attest it's relatively very true. Thank you, Lydia, for the invitation to this session, and thank to everyone who is here in this session. I would like first to respond to some of those kind of misconceptions in the organic fertilizer industry. And one is the question of can organic fertilizer actually replace the inorganic fertilizer, which is one of the questions that Simon really addressed and addressed it well. The truth is, and the answer is yes. For organic farmers, they are off the synthetic fertilizers. However, the quantity of organic fertilizer that they use, and this is where the misconceptions comes in, is relatively huge quantities compared to the synthetic fertilizers. So I agree, it cannot be a one-on-one. And I'm in real full support of the fact that synthetic and organic fertilizer coming in together really works better than either of the two alone. From an experiment that we did, or from trials that we did realize that you can get a 35% increase in yield when you do a combination of both the organic and inorganic fertilizers in dilapidated soils. We saw actually about a 27% increase from organic fertilizers and an 18% increase from the synthetic. So going the organic and inorganic complementary way looks like the future of the country, but the very long term will be going the organic way. It's still possible. I'm Samuel Rigo. I'm a co-founder and CEO of Safi Organics. And in Safi Organics, which was founded in 2015, we have one mission with us: to help farmers rejuvenate their soils through provision of organic fertilizers that rejuvenate their soil, increase their yield, and at the end of the day, they have healthy food from their farm. We use a technology designed together with MIT that enables us to tailor the fertilizers that we are making to fit the soils that we are targeting. How we do this is we convert farmers' crop residues into biochar, and then we fortify the biochar, or what we call activate the biochar with nutrients, and this is what we use in the farm as a complete fertilizer that could work both as a standalone and as a combination with other synthetic fertilizers. In terms of how it works and what we have seen from the farmers, we recommend actually as a standalone up to about half a ton, and as a combination, we recommend 1:2 of the normal fertilizer usage, which gives us relatively, as I mentioned when I started, a 35% increase in yield. This data is actually based on trials that we have conducted in the farm. And I do, today, it's quite interesting as we are talking about misinformation. Sometimes we in the industry are misleading, sometimes become the misleading point, because, for example, we can tell the farmer it works alone. But that is one bit of the information. What you're not telling the farmer is how much they need to use as a standalone. So in most cases, you'll find farmers wanting to use the same quantity that they have been using all along in the synthetic fertilizer. And what we see is actually farmers having a crop failure, which leads them to believe that organic fertilizer does not work. So one of the key things, and this is a challenge to all the producers today who are in this room today, is we need to tell the true story. Let's not give the half story, because if we tell the true story and the full story, the farmer is keen to make that decision and make that informed decision, which actually ends up promoting our fertilizers more, and we are able to do more. And that is what actually led us to coming together as organic fertilizer manufacturers and forming the ISFAA, which the government has been in full support of, as well as JZ have really supported our effort to do one thing, to tell the actual story for the farmers to be in a position to make that informed decision. Since 2015, when Safi Organics was founded, we have reached over 15,000 farmers, and we are currently doing a 20-ton capacity every single day. One thing that Simon will agree with me, we have been having quite a huge challenge in the amount of organic fertilizer that is available. And the government has always said that the quantity might be relatively low. So what we are doing at Safi Organics, we have increased our capacity to 20 tons, and we are looking at doubling that in the next 6 months, which will place it at a 40 tons production capacity per day, or simply about 13,000 tons per year. Beyond that, what we have done also at Safi Organics, which is something that we have really corrected from our farmers, is the fact that farmers have been looking for a granulated fertilizer for their use. And this is something that we have been working on, and we have successfully been in a position to granulate our fertilizer, actually to resemble the farmer's wish. It's actually dustless and granulated. So the farmers have ease of application. However, with this ease of application, one of the things we have to be, we are very keen on is telling the farmers, despite the fact that it looks like the normal fertilizers, you need to apply 2 times or 3 times more, depending on the crop or depending on the applications that they're making. And this is to ensure that the farmers remain informed and the farmers remain updated on the growth. However, I have to agree that one of the biggest challenges that we have seen, and I'll mention this, is the support by the government. Sometimes it's a bit, I know it's a cross-cutting issue in the NCPB. Some of our products are higher in terms of the price than the subsidized government fertilizer. So it is very hard for you to get an entry in NCPB with a higher price product, which limits actually what the farmers or limits what the producers can do. And at the end of the day, we do understand it's very important for the government to hold the name and also maintain a name that the fertilizers are subsidized at 2,500. But we also do understand that as producers, depending on the raw materials and other factors, the cost can sometimes go slightly above that. And we would appreciate if in future we could have a slot whereby we are allowed actually still or to sell our fertilizer through NCPB. And I'm speaking this from experience, as I'm one of the few people in NCPB and selling our product through NCPB, which has offered us that opportunity. Maybe the last thing I would like to highlight also in terms of misinformation is the agrovets. We have seen the agrovets are interested on what gives me the biggest margin. The agrovets are not keen on telling the farmers how to use the product. So, and because most of the farmers trust the agrovet or the counter staff in the agrovet, then they can move any product depending on however they want to tell it. Maybe this is something that OFIMA can take up and actually train the agro dealers so that they understand that organic fertilizers, they are not similar to inorganic fertilizers. And this we need to use more for one reason or the other. So as my conclusion, I'll say it's an effort of every stakeholder in this industry to make it possible for farmers to get the true information. And once farmers have the true information, growth will be relatively something that will take a natural course. And the reason why growth will take a natural course here is we are speaking an 800,000 metric ton market in terms of fertilizer. Organic fertilizers are doing less than 10,000 metric tons. Synthetic fertilizers are doing close to 300,000 metric tons. And so we still have a deficit of over 400,000 metric tons that needs to be met. So it offers a very huge opportunity for both the organic and inorganic fertilizers. And this is not a competition, and I would never look at it from a competition perspective, but rather a complementary perspective. I do welcome people who are here today to try Safi Organics. Just check it in your nearest agrovet or from the nearest store in NCPB, and you'll love and enjoy a 30% increase in yield. Thank you. Lydia, back to you.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. And maybe I should come collect a small fee for the advertisement, Peter. But we appreciate the insights that you're bringing. And it is very interesting to hear that you have also reiterated the place of research in validating, in carrying out trials and ensuring that we are bringing a product that actually delivers value. We also appreciate that the distribution node in the value chain is serving as a weak link. And maybe that is one of the areas we will need to strengthen going forward to enhance delivery. But most important, I think, and one of my highlights is that there is a 400,000 business opportunity, which I think is an excellent way to create, to support our ambition, even in terms of development and even sectoral prioritization in terms of food security. So thank you very much. And now we are going to transition to here kwa ground. In Kenya, we say kwa ground vitu ni different. So we are joined by Madam Irene Kalondu. She is a farmer who has been practicing farming for the last 25 years. She's also into exports, and she is a user of various organic inputs. So we are going to hear straight from the horse's mouth. Does this thing work? And what are some of the misconceptions she has had to battle with? So, Irene, I want to welcome you to the floor for the next 5 minutes. Then we will have Eric Kamau from the Pest Control Products Board wrapping up that. We are privileged to have another government agency also on board so that we ensure that as we pursue private sector engagement, it is holistic. We have full information to give us direction in terms of what are our next steps. So Irene, I'd like to welcome you and share your experience as a farmer on the ground and even a farmer that has used organic inputs to facilitate export. What is the game changer? Over to you, Irene. Irene, if you can hear me. Okay. All right. As we address Irene's challenge, I think she has a connectivity issue. I want to transition very quickly to Eric. Eric comes to us from the Pest Control Products Board. And Eric is coming to us from the Pest Control Products Board. So PCPB is the regulator for the plant protection products that we're using in the country. And you realize that for them to go for commercialization, you have to have your to be approved, and so that you can have your products in the market. So we are going to hear first of all, he can enlighten the participants on the work and the mandate of PCPB, and thereafter now share what has been their journey in terms of the approval processes for the organic input in the country. So Eric, if you know, please unmute and proceed.
Hi, thank you. Thank you very much for the platform and the opportunity. First of all, my apologies for joining late. I was only notified of this meeting about 15 minutes ago, and I was told to join urgently, but all the same, I'm here. Asante. Pest Control Products Board is the government agency charged with the regulation of pest control products, or if you please, by another name, pesticides. Although we prefer to use pest control products because it's a more encompassing term, and pesticides has traditionally just referred to synthetic pesticides, but we regulate pest control products which include biopesticides. And I think that is relevant for this forum. So before any pest control product, biological or otherwise, is commercialized in the country, there's a requirement under CAP 3 46, the Pest Control Products Act, to have it registered with the board. And there are some information requirements that the person has to submit. We have what we call an online pesticide registration system now. It is done digitally. Previously, people would submit physical dossiers, which were really thick files with a lot of information, the physical chemical properties, ecotox data, and then we would proceed to do efficacy trials. But now that is done online. You submit the data requirements online, and once our registration officers review the initial data requirements and they are satisfied, then you are linked with an accredited efficacy institution, and the trials are conducted for your product. We register against specific crops and specific pests and diseases. And when it comes to biopesticides, we have guidelines that allow for the registration of biopesticide. And we are encouraging the shift to safe alternatives. And I like that the speaker before me alluded to the fact that although we encourage people to go organic and we encourage people to go biological, it does not come without its own risks, and it does not come without its own, should I say, precautions that need to be shared. We need to give a holistic picture. And I'll give an example recently of a grower who used a product that contained something that was undeclared, but it was a biological product. It's an extract of the karanja tree. It's known as karangin. And this grower used this product. And when there were basically herbs, when they exported these herbs, their herbs were intercepted. And they were not intercepted because of any synthetic product. It was because of that biological product, which is karangin, because unfortunately where they were exporting to in Europe, that product is unapproved. Okay, and if it is unapproved, irrespective of whether it is biological or synthetic, then the limit of detection becomes the default MRL becomes the limit of detection. So their produce was intercepted and was subjected to the usual destruction process at the cost of the grower. So it's important that even if you have a product out there and you believe it's a safer alternative to existing synthetic pesticides, it is important that you take it through the regularization process and that you also confirm with the growers you're selling this to that it is part of their approved lists for the markets they're exporting to, and even for our own market. Because even though biologicals are more encouraged, they are still treated the same, because even natural extracts and substances which we may deem organic can still have some harmful effects depending on their concentrations and any maybe other co-formulants that may have been used. So what we would say for anyone that is interested in registering biopesticides, they are being fast-tracked. This means that if you came wanting to register a biopesticide today, your application goes to the top of the line. That's number one. Number two, whereas for synthetic products, you may be required to do up to 3 seasons of efficacy of a particular crop. For biopesticides, they allow our registration department allows concurrent efficacy trials in different plots to happen so that the process can be faster. Additionally, there are some data requirements that are usually waived if you are registering a biopesticide. For those who may be interested in hearing more, you can visit our website, that is www.pcpb.go.ke, and there you'll find a link to the OPRS, Online Pesticide Registration System. You can click that link and interact and see what the data requirements are. And you can also visit us at Loresho, where our headquarters is. We are you use the route that just off Waiyaki Way at Karibu Inn, and then you turn right. Instead of going towards Sugar Board, you branch off to the right. You can find us there and make an appointment with the registration officer, and you will be walked through the procedure. So there are also people out there who have perhaps traditional or cultural knowledge that they would want to commercialize but are wondering how to do it. And I would give an example of neem, for example. Neem has been used by many communities as a bioactive substance that has, tidal activity and even biocidal activity. It is quite a potent natural pest control product. And there are companies that have registered products based on neem as a diractin. And now there are also, I think, like farmer groups and communities that use it at a local level. But should they wish to commercialize it, the regulations require that it has the ownership has to be domiciled with either an institution or a person or an individual. So it becomes a bit difficult for that communal knowledge, or what I would call indigenous knowledge, to be commercialized. But we're saying if you can form an organized group as farmers and be able to make an application and be able to meet some of the initial data requirements, then there are those things that can be waived. And we encourage it, because neem is not the only extract that there is. There are many others out there that we perhaps don't even know about that are with the local communities, and we would like to encourage them so that we can even encourage local manufacturing and the shift to safer alternatives. As we speak, there's a shift globally towards safer alternatives and to phasing out highly hazardous pesticides, what we refer to as HHPs. We are also reviewing a number of molecules with a view of phasing them out, and provided there are alternatives that are available and there are that our farmers can be able to use. So we would encourage that. And sorry for that. Yes, so that is the by and large what we do at PCPB. We regulate pesticides. We have our compliance and enforcement officers who go out to the retail outlets and the distribution chain, from the manufacturers all the way up to the retail outlets, to do product certification and premises licensing. And we have our registration office that registers the products. And then we have our analytical department that does post-registration analysis for quality controls to check that the products remain as per the registered specs in terms of concentration and the active ingredients that are supposed to be there. And yes, we welcome any persons who would like to register safe alternatives. There are waivers that are in place, and there are fast tracking measures that will allow you to register faster. So thank you for the opportunity, and sorry again for being late.
Thank you very much, Kamau. You're most welcome. We are delighted to have had you. It has been very insightful to hear the kind of progress that even you as a regulator have made in terms of supporting the transition to safer alternatives, while also creating opportunities for investment, even at the very local level with our farmer groups, that their indigenous knowledge now has an opportunity to be commercialized. This is one of the things that has been a great contributor to developing or emerging economies such as China, where they have had a lot of their indigenous technologies, indigenous knowledge commercialized. And a good example is Artemisinin for malaria. So the community that is the custodian of that knowledge collects royalties for all the malaria drugs that are generated and developed globally through the Novartis, that is the pharmaceutical company. It's exciting to hear the progress our regulators have made to ensure that these kinds of opportunities are available, and even waivers and incentives are available to catalyze this process to transition. So now, to wrap up this very invigorating conversation, I want to invite Irene to now share her experience as a farmer. She has actually used both organic also use various organic inputs as the fertilizers. So we will hear her experience, and even better is that she has used these particular products to enhance market access for exports. So we are looking at how do we then alternatives globally as a shift that it is happening. So Irene is going to give us first-hand experience of how that has been and what that looks like. Irene, over to you. Hello, Irene. Irene, can you hear me? Irene? Can you hear me, Irene? Okay. I can see she's unmuted, but for some reason, she's not able to talk. Irene, can you hear me? Maybe you could try logging in again. Okay, I can see time is really rushing, and perhaps I'd just like to, as we fix Irene's connectivity issue, maybe I'd like to just welcome a question or two. I know there is one I had seen in the chat. Okay. There is one from Juliet Makoha, a quick question to Eric Kamau. Still at PCPB, can I get a certification to operate an agrovet or what happened? So I think we can move to you, Kamau, to respond to that. As you
Pardon, what was the question again, please?
Juliet wants to know if she can. Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh yes.
Okay, so yeah,
Okay.
I've changed
Kamau,
devices.
just take a break. Let's listen to Irene quickly.
All right, no problem.
Thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay, good. I've changed devices. So anyway, my name is Kalondumumo Irene. I am a farmer in Boni, Makueni County. And I took a strategic decision to in 2020. I was in the bee sector for a long time. Then I went into holistic agriculture in terms of a mixed farming, dairy, beekeeping, and crop production. And I decided to focus on. I wanted to do organic farming seriously, and I know it works. I know I've had a lot of very interesting things going on in terms of the conversations. But for me, I would say I went full scale and implemented agroecologic, sustainable, climate smart agriculture practices, including using, I think I've used Safi Organics, I've used the hygro product, I've used the rabbit urine, I've done, I think the IPMs, I have I think I have everybody's product on the farm. And I can tell you it actually works, and it is possible to go full scale agroecology and organic, and you can actually get yourself into the export market. And I did this because out there, unfortunately in Kenya, what I've realized is that people don't take what we do seriously. And when you say you're doing something, it is not quite, you cannot be able to trace it. So my farm is Global Gap certified. We have a KEFIS traceability code for the produce, and we are also Kilimo High certified. And because of that, because of the produce that I have, I just happened to take my avocados out 2 years ago, and when they were just like whatever the produce was then, and it was possible, they were actually, because the look, feel, and smell is actually organic. The person who did it, which is a private label buyer, he was actually able to actually say he was interested in the produce because I have off-season products, produce. Now, again, where I am, I'm actually realizing now because of the way the soil has actually is healthy, we are actually able going to to have produce throughout the year. So it is actually possible to implement and do it with a focus, persistence, and resilience, and know for sure that this product can be picked by the external market. Of course, it has not been easy. Of course, I went through the rigors of actually doing the soil test at the beginning. My soils were very acidic. We were in dairy, and I had a lot of napier grass, which now we have moved on from, and actually put in Bracharia, Juncal, Desmodial, you name it, all of it there, because I have dairy. And because of that, because of the napier grass before it, the soils were very badly off, and it's a big place. But because of concerted efforts, all those things that Simon is talking about, Safi Organics got in their bioproduct, biochar, got in Greencom, everything that you can even actually imagine. And right now I can actually tell you my soil was tested. We're actually doing GIS remote sensing soil testing right now. I have results from satellite pictures, and it's absolutely amazing. And the produce itself can actually say is a testament to the same. So in terms of actually ensuring the produce is out, I think one of the challenges we've had for the longest is that we were not so sure where we can be able to get this produce, the inputs rather, from the producers, because actually getting produce from Safi, which is all the way in Embu, I had to get one of Sam's colleagues to bring it all the way to the hill. And that's where the challenge is, where is the easiest point at which the farmers can actually get the produce. So if there's a way they can actually come in through the NCPB silos or whatever it is nearest to the counties, or wherever to the nearest local SOCOs, the e-voucher systems can actually be used like what they had actually done before with the KSEP CRAL project, which did not actually work during the 2020-21 period. But I want to say for sure that it is possible. Yes, you can actually do this. You can actually go full scale organic on the farms. And that also, because now we have a circular economy, we are also using the bioslurry for putting back into the soil with the composting, with the bioslurry, with the manuring, but it takes time. So the problem with many Kenyans, and this is what I keep on saying in every forum, we want to take shortcuts in every way. You want this thing to produce today, tomorrow. No, it cannot work. If the soils are acidic, they must be able to change. If the soils are alkaline, they must be able to change. And anyway, depending on also what the product it is that you're having on the farm, you need to actually ensure that it is possible, and you need to put in the effort for it to give you the produce. And that means the uptake in the market is straight away. So now we have actually gone full scale and started doing value addition on the African green leafy vegetables, using the same thing, sustainable, climate smart. We are also now providing, we have actually come up with a tech. We have gone digital. We can actually do, rather we have an MVP now, which we can, we want to promote on agroecology capacity building, all the way to using blockchain for purposes of inputs, and linking it now with what the organic farm inputs, fertilizers association is bringing all the way to the market. And once we're able to have that seamless engagement, it is going to be very easy for people to know that it is possible. Thank you very much, Lydia, for the opportunity.
Excellent. We appreciate having you on board and sharing your experience. Thank you very much for taking time to also run us through the journey and your experience, and even validating that indeed it works. So, colleagues, we have 10 minutes to the end of our webinar. I want to use the next 5 minutes to very quickly I want to just invite, there's a question for Irene, there's a question for Eric. So we start with Eric. Jacqueline is asking that can she get certification to operate an agrovet from DCPB, or what exactly happens? So Eric, if you have insights on how to respond to that, I'd like to give you a minute. Then we move on to Irene's questions.
Okay, thank you. Well, yes, if you intend to stock
Eric?
any... Yes, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. I was saying if you intend to stock any pest control products, be they conventional or biopesticides, yes, you are required to have a PCPB certificate. And the procedure for obtaining the same is going to eCitizen and searching for Pest Control Products Board. Then on our landing page, you will find our services, and you are to click on the one that states premises inspection and certification. And then it will take you to a form that you fill in the usual details of the location of the shop and the rest. And it will take you to a list of our licensable categories. And you will select if you're either a retail outlet or wholesale, or you wish to be a distributor. And you will be taken through the requirements which you are required to upload. The minimum qualification is that you need to have someone to sell to farmers who at least has a certificate in agriculture. Before our new regulations, which were gazetted in December 2024, unfortunately, our act was ambiguous on what the qualifications were, and this was a challenge because we couldn't enforce that. But I'm happy to report that now we have a minimum qualification because we are trying to bring sanity to that area so that farmers can get at least people who are technically well versed who can prescribe. So once you do that, you'll make payment and you will receive a receipt and an application number, and we will schedule you for inspections because our inspectors have to come and verify the products that you have. But yes, that is a procedure. Should you wish to know more, you can always reach out. But yes, you can obtain a license from us.
All right. Thank you very much, Eric, for that very comprehensive response. I hope your contact information is in the chat function. Please feel free to reach out to Eric for further consultation on aspects of biopesticides going forward. Then Juliet had also asked Mr. Simon Mushingiri. Good afternoon, Mr. Simon. Thank you for your presentation. Brief question: when are top dressers fertilizers available at NCPB in Bungoma? Kindly, thank you. And there's a response that she has been advised to get in touch after this webinar. And he confirms in the affirmative that top dressing fertilizers are available. Then we move to Irene's questions very quickly. There's a question here, Irene, for you. Is it possible to farm organically right from the beginning to harvest time and to market without involving any chemical use? Number one. Irene, are the certifications costly as they are perceived to be by many? How seamless are the certification processes locally and internationally? So I hope, Irene, you've had both questions. I'd be happy to...
Yes, we have had. It's possible to farm organically right from the word go. You just need to make sure that you put in your systems in place, and that's exactly what it is that you want to do. Like I said, my soils were acidic when I went on the ground in 2020. I had not planted any avocado. Then I started now working on when I did my soil test with Carlo, which also took a lot, like almost 4 weeks to get results. They told me to lime the land, which I did, and I had to get dolomitic lime. It was during COVID. So I started off right from the word go, making sure that the systems were set in place for the organic farming all the way through. By then, I didn't know who was doing the organic fertilizers. So I actually now started having conversations with people who are doing, I think that there's a gentleman who was doing something with rabbit urine. There was also now the one for the granulated, all the way to Safi, getting their biochar, all the way getting the diatomaceous earth from Gilgil. So all those things you must put in place all the way through from the beginning. And it is possible, yes, from beginning to end. I've done that, not for one product, and for the last 4 years now I've done it. And that's why my produce has been able to be picked internationally, all the way to value addition. Yes, of course, the certifications are not cheap, as we say, but you must, everything has a cost to it. If you want to get the best out there and also be recognized out there, you must able to put in the effort. When I was able to get when I went for the expos actually having gone through the systems for Kentrade to get through KEFIS and everything else to get my produce out, when I put in my certifications that I had the Global Gap, I had the organic, and I had the KEFIS, the conversations changed immediately. because people out there are able to know this person has actually been able to put in the effort and we can be able to give her a premium price. So yes, it is possible. Yes, you must put in the effort. Yes, you must be persistent, but of course you must remember to pray that you get a good buyer and that God will be able to reward your effort. Thank you.
All right, excellent. Thank you very much for the responses. I want to just take 2 questions. Please be very brief, short and sweet. We will have Wanjiro, Kamau, then Stephen Mashan. Please, I would like to request that you clearly identify who you're directing your question to. So Wanjiro, we start with you, then Stephen.
Good afternoon to you all, and thank you, Lydia, for the opportunity. My question is directed to PCPB. I am a farmer. I'm an organic farmer. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, clearly, very clearly. Please proceed.
Yes, my question is directed to PCPB. In 2020, a report was released by Kenya Organic Agriculture Network in collaboration with other partners, talking about the pesticide use in Kirinyaga and Murang'a counties. And from this report, I'm sure you have had access to it. It showed a dire situation in terms of pesticide use in our fruits and vegetables, and even crops like maize that previously did not have a lot of pesticide use. My question is this. I know that our exports are closely monitored in terms of residue levels. I'm wondering what is happening at our domestic market levels, because about 95% of fruits and vegetables are actually consumed by Kenyans, who is actually monitoring what we are eating from our markets, from our farms. And if you have any information that is available, publicly, could you just share with us what's happening in that space? Because we may be worrying a lot about what we're exporting, which is only 5% of our production, whereas actually what we're eating as Kenyans is really, really not healthy at all. Thank you.
Hi, thank you for the question. Yes, you're right. Produce destined for...
Thank you very much, Wanjiro. I hope, Kamau, you have gotten the...
Yes, I have. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, clearly. Please proceed. Yes,
All right. So, yes, produce intended for export is very strictly monitored, and there's a lot of traceability, which is unfortunate that we don't have a similar system for our local produce. But having said that, KEFIS and PCPB and other partners like SGS do routinely do some residue analysis at farm gate and at market level. There's a recent report that you can obtain from our website that we published in June last year. That one you can be able to obtain on our website on residue testing on kales and tomatoes and what were they? They were like 5 crops, and you can obtain that report. There's a pesticide residue monitoring framework that is being currently worked on in conjunction with CABI, Center for Agriculture and Biosciences International, because we identified that same gap she's spoken of, that is being done in conjunction with PCPB and KEFIS. So when that is done, we are hoping to have more frequent and structured testing, and to have a platform where we can be sharing that data, because we realized some counties like Nakuru here is currently doing that for, I think, like cabbages and other things. You'll hear other counties like Lamu are doing for different things, but everyone does their own tests independently and they keep the data to themselves. So with this new Plantwise is supporting this development of a national pesticide residue monitoring framework. We'll be able to have concerted efforts and synergize and be able to share that data with them. I will also want to mention that the challenge, like in Kirinyaga that she has spoken of, has not just been with registered products. The issue is that we have very porous borders, and we've been having farmers going across our border to our neighboring countries which have less stringent regulation of pesticides, unfortunately, and it is because of price, and farmers are very sensitive to cost of production. But we are trying to really do awareness creation and education to tell them that it's not just about your bottom line, it's more about safety. And so we are going to be putting those efforts together with the education and awareness creation and this pesticide residue monitoring framework is what we are going to be doing. Yes, but I do agree with her, there's a gap, and we will look into that. Yes, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Eric, for that very comprehensive response. Wanjiro comes to us from the Inter-Sectoral Forum on Agroecology and Agrobiodiversity, and I believe there is an opportunity to partner, especially on the awareness with the regulator to enhance at least the use of the judicious use of pest control products. So finally, please, Steve Machan, I'm giving you the last chance. Kindly be very brief so that we wrap up in the next few minutes. And I'd like to call upon my panelists. Please prepare your closing remarks in a pitch, in a very short elevator pitch kind of way. So, Steve Machan, over to you for your question.
Thank you, Madam. I'm sorry, I'm in a very noisy place. If you hear a lot of noise, you will withstand with me.
It is okay.
Sorry. Yeah, mine is a follow-up with what Eric has just presented or given us.
Okay.
From what I have understood is that I think the company or the organization Eric is working with, they can license, they can guide in certification and so forth. But I think the gap, the information which I did not get from him is what are some of the examples of biopesticides that are already in market, which they are market. What are they? Specifically for what crop and what pest? Because these are in such forums. I think it's good we get to know that there is a biopesticide this for this crop or something like that. And then I think lastly is about lastly is I think what Samuel is about the presentation of Samuel, and we said it's good to give a true story and something like that. So in this true story, my question is, who is actually able to do organic farming? Who is actually able to do organic farming? Can every farmer do? Because I have agricultural background, and there is the bulkiness of this organic materials. If you want to use manure or any other sort of straws or something like that, and at what scale? You see, if there is a company that produces 20 ton of organic material, you see. So how do we really can we really meet the demand with that kind of a scale, noting the scale sources organic? Thank you, Madam.
All right. So we have one for Eric. In terms of examples of biopesticides that are already approved by PCPB. I don't know if Eric, you may have that information with you.
Yes, I can mention. So very quickly, I know we are short on time. So I think it's important that I mention the scope. When we talk of biopesticides, PCPB recognizes 3 categories: microorganisms, that's like bacteria, fungi, viruses, protozoa; macroorganisms, which are like predators and parasitoids and mites; and biochemicals, like the ones I alluded to earlier, the botanicals and the semiochemicals, which are plant extracts. So these are the range of biopesticides that we regulate. We do not include biochemical agents; those are considered as conventional. To answer his question, some of the registered products there are many. They'll range of those 3, like metarhizium, which is like the used for control of spider mites in roses. We have things like products based on Bacillus thuringiensis. We have products based on azadiractin, which is a neem extract. We have Things like Bavaria, Basina. But what I will say, since I cannot give that list exhaustively, if you go to our website, you will find our all pest control products that are registered divided in two categories. You will find biopesticides, and then you'll find a list for conventional. So I would urge the gentleman, if he has time, to go to our website and just click on crop protection products under biopesticides, and he'll be able to find an exhaustive list of all the ones that are registered. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Kamau. So finally, Sam, very briefly, please respond if companies are able to deliver quality organic inputs at cost. Very quickly, then we come back for a round of to wrap up. Sam? Okay. Okay, it appears he may have left, but what I could say to you, Steve Machan, is that yes, there are efforts to ensure that these products are being delivered to the farmers. Although a lot of work still needs to be done, there is work is already underway to ensure that you're already getting this input available at cost. So we are working to reduce that. So I'd like to invite my panelists for closing remarks very briefly in an elevator pitch of a minute. We start with Mr. Simon Mushingiri. Simon, if you're still with us.
Okay, thank you very much. I think I'll be very, very quick. I know there are some issues that someone had raised. Probably I would have responded, but time is not there. But I want to say that we have an extension policy, and the extension policy, one thing that we recognize is that extension is pluralistic, meaning that as I was talking about the product stewardship, we don't limit, in this case as a government, who goes to the farmers to give information. Yeah. But I want to say that what is important is that we are keen on creating an enabling environment so that these products can be delivered. Yeah. And of importance also is partnership in messaging. I just want to give an example. Okay. There was a time we had a lot of problems with the inorganics, and we partnered together with Fertilizer Association of Kenya, and we put a common message in the Seeds of Gold magazine for the Saturday Nation. So we are there, and we can partner together when it comes to issues of informing. And lastly, I think I want to appreciate that this was a good forum. I think there's a lot of information that we can share. Anything that probably you'd like to inquire, I think I put my contacts in the chat, and I'm actually open for discussions, and I was also open for consultations. But as I said, we have a commitment that we made after the African Fertilizer and Soil Health Summit, and we are keen on seeing that production of organic fertilizers is tripled. And who is to go to do it? The private sector. And that is important. So we move together so that we can be able to deliver, you enjoy in terms of business, and then the farmers will actually get an input that can support in terms of increasing agriculture production and productivity, for increased incomes and job creation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Simon. We are very honored to have had your presence, and even for the very nice insights you have shared on the different interventions the government is making. So I'll invite Irene. Irene? Okay, then in the absence of Irene, I would like to invite Eric to make his closing remarks, even as we wrap up.
Yeah, I was trying to unmute, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, the whatever had gone on. Anyway, yeah, it's been an exciting journey. I know it's possible for this to happen. And I would like to encourage as many people as possible to just start moving, because one of the things that is happening internationally is that Kenyan products are being flagged out a little bit more because of the issues of MRLs in terms of how we are putting in the synthetic synthetic biopesticides and also the fertilizers. But there's also a growing demand for organic and natural based products, and people are more aware of them, and they're requesting and asking, they're actually demanding for them. So, and then the whole issue of, I'm not so sure whether the issue of the extension services is available currently in Kenya, but because we have to pay for that extra, but I know it is possible, and I'd like to encourage more farmers to go organic and put in the organic fertilizers and inputs. Thank you, Lydia.
All right. Thank you, Irene. We appreciate you coming on board and validating that the organic inputs available are working and they're supporting the farmers. So last, certainly but not the least, we would like to welcome Kamau for his closing remarks.
Thank you very much. I'll keep it short. As I said, I encourage any persons who would wish to register biopesticides, and because this is an organics forum, then those are the ones I'm really belaboring. But if you have any product that you feel would be a safer alternative to the existing conventional ones, and you think it can stand the rigors of scientific testing, please submit it for registration. And if it is a biopesticide, it will have some fast tracking and some of the requirements waived. I would also be remiss in my duty if I failed to mention our usual messages that even as we are going organic, I know, like Irene mentioned, it took her a while. So there, you might be doing a gradual phase out of the others. As you continue to use the conventional products and IPM, we encourage that you read the label and stick to label instructions. We've been having issues even with registered products because people are exceeding the rates of application. People are not observing pre-harvest intervals. And I would wish to also state this, that pesticides, especially conventional, are designed to be toxic, okay? Because there's been this discussion in the public space where people are saying, why don't you give us the safer ones? Well, there are safer alternatives like the biopesticides we're talking of, but those account for just a small percentage right now. So majority of the conventional pesticides, if not used according to label instructions, can have toxic effects on non-target organisms. So I think it's important that we realize there are necessary evil in some way for now, because of emerging pests and because we're in a tropical zone. But I'm glad to hear people like Irene testifying that they've been able to move away from the toxic substances and are actually seeing good results. So then as we try to push for that, so long as the conventionals are still around, we need to read the label and follow the instructions. And if you have any further questions, you may be able to visit our website. Thank you for the platform.
You're welcome. Thank you very much, Eric. It has been very insightful to also hear the developments and the progress that the regulator has made in terms of ensuring that even as a country, they are very ready and systems are in place to support the transition. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to appreciate your time. Thank you for your indulgence. We have gone overboard with about 13 minutes, but I really want to appreciate your attention and even your curiosity, even as we engaged our very well-able panelists. I want to appreciate all of you and our panelists for the wealth and the depth of knowledge that you have brought to us, and especially validating that the opportunity for private sector engagement in organic inputs is huge, whether it is in fertilizer or biopesticides, and most importantly, that policy processes and institutions exist to support this transition. So we are looking forward to engaging further and ensuring that our private sector get the full benefit of the opportunity that exists. With that, we have come to the end of our webinar today, and I'd like to close in a prayer. Lord, we are before you this evening. We want to thank you for the opportunity we have had to learn and understand the various opportunities and the different initiatives that are ongoing to support private sector engagement in the organic input value chain. We pray that we will be diligent in utilizing the information that has been brought to fore to ensure that we take full advantage, not only to ensure that there is food security, but also there is continued trade, even with our bilateral and even our domestic front that is safe and that is supporting sustainable, that is adopting sustainable practices. This is our prayer of faith in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you. And we look forward to having you in the next 2 weeks for another invigorating conversation.
Amen and goodbye.
Amen.